I've never really been one of those people that could easily keep weight off. I was a bit of a chubby teenager, and I've always kind of yo-yoed back and forth between being overweight and being comfortable. Because I was working at Modern Wedding, I was working 16, 18-hour days. Time just flew past. Like, I never had enough time for anything. I mean, that's what it's like when you're the editor of a magazine, or the editor of 8 or 10. So there was a lot of time crunch and a lot of stress and hair pulling and deadlines and that kind of thing. Initially, it was good, being busy, but once I quit smoking, I had no excuse to get up from my desk, and food was an excuse, and it was like the only excuse I had to get away from the stress and get away from the work and the phone calls and the emails and everything, and just take a minute. I don't know exactly how much I weighed because I was too scared to get on the scales, but I knew I was about 65 kilos. Probably doesn't sound like a lot, but for someone like me who's only 157 centimeters, which is what, 5'2", it's a lot, and it looks like a lot. At that point, I was honestly questioning whether this was just it. 34, 35. Is this what it's like to be this age? Because if so, it really sucks. One thing I always enjoyed was fashion. Fashion, hair, makeup. You know, it's one of my great joys in life, but when you don't feel comfortable in your own skin anymore, it's really difficult to enjoy those things. When I realized I was a size 12, I was just crushed because I was trying to hide, like I didn't really want anyone to look at my figure. So I started buying even bigger sizes. So even though it was probably only a size 12, I'd started buying size 14 clothes because I didn't want anyone to look at me. Like, I didn't want anyone to notice that I'd put on so much weight. I had this like constant rotation of like baggy sweaters and like really big baggy culotte pants, and winter was like, when it got to winter, I was like, oh, thank God. You know, I don't have to wear sleeveless tops or anything like that anymore. I was actively avoiding events, I would say. I mean, when you're the editor of a magazine, you get invited to the opening of an envelope. I had this Business Chicks event coming up. Like, a big part of me wanted to go, but a bigger part of me just couldn't deal with looking like that in front of all the cameras that I knew would be there, and in front of all my like colleagues and friends. I couldn't do it. I couldn't look like that in front of people. So I just kept saying no. Sorry, I can't make it, I'm too busy. I'm too busy was always my excuse. So this Business Chick event, it was one that I really couldn't get out of. And it was someone I was actually really keen to see speak, but I literally had nothing to wear. Like, nothing fitted me. I had work clothes, but they were so big and so ugly, and so I spent an entire weekend looking for an outfit that I thought was smart casual enough to get away with at this event, but also would make it less obvious of like how overweight I was and how uncomfortable I was. But when I saw the photos from that event, I was like, God, is it really that bad? I think it was around the time that Jen and Victoria were starting to lose weight. They came in and started telling us about this thing they discovered, intermittent fasting, you know. And at first it kind of sounded too good to be true. I was like, really? And I thought, well, why not? I've tried everything else. It sounded a little bit crazy. I thought, fasting, it kind of sounds like a fad diet. And I was a little bit worried about Jen and Victoria. By this point, they'd lost a lot of weight, and I thought, I hope they're not hurting themselves, like not eating. It seems weird. It seems weird to a lot of people, I think. But yeah, it seemed a bit strange to me at first. But once I read more about it, I realized it's not actually not eating, it's when you eat. I've done a lot of those really horrible restrictive diets where you eat the same thing every day and you never get a day off. So it seemed achievable. My first fast day was pretty hard. Yeah, I was pretty hungry. But once I got through it, I think it didn't take me long before I thought, you know what, I can do this again. It's actually not as hard as I thought. Because I think I thought that I'd get hungrier and hungrier, and I was like scared of being hungry, but it doesn't hurt. It's not painful. It's just a little bit annoying. But once you get used to that feeling, it's actually kind of cool. I certainly had a couple of days where I got through most of the day and then I got home and like face planted into a pizza or devoured an entire bag of popcorn. And I thought, okay, never mind, I'll try again tomorrow. Probably within the first 6 to 8 weeks, I dropped a kilo or 2. Victoria asked me, how much have you lost? And I said, I have no idea. I'm too scared to get on the scales. And she said, you look like you've lost a fair bit. And I was wearing my big baggy jumper and my big jeans that were way too big. And I stood up and I pulled the jeans up to my waist, and then I kind of grabbed all of the extra fabric from my sweater and from my jeans and I pulled it all back so they could see my figure, and they all went. There was just stunned silence and no one said anything for like 30 seconds. And then I looked at Victoria and she had tears in her eyes. And I was like, is it really that much? I mean, I knew I'd lost a bit, but is it really that much? Not long after that, I had a doctor's appointment and he made me get on the scales. It was actually a really, really scary moment for me because I had been putting it off for so long and my hands started shaking because I thought, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I haven't lost enough. I haven't been trying hard enough. I mean, I've been trying, but it hasn't been hard enough. I haven't been pushing myself enough. I'm not ready. No, don't make me. And he was like, no, don't be silly. Just get on the scales. So I did, and I closed my eyes. And then I heard this little, And I was like, is that a good noise or a bad noise? So I kind of opened my eyes and looked down really, really, really slowly. And the scale said 56, 56.5. So I dropped 7.5 kilos in 8 weeks. And that's when I went, Holy Mother of God, this is working. This is working so well. This is working so quickly. I've never done anything like this before. And it wasn't even that hard. I got in the car and I remember getting out my phone, and just because it was huge, like I hadn't been that weight for so long. And so I pulled out my iPhone and I just started talking to it, saying, "You won't believe what just happened. I just got on the scales and I've lost like 9.5 kilos. 9.5 kilos. I actually burst into tears in the car because I'd never had anything work so well and so quickly. At first, it seemed kind of crazy. I got to decide when my fast days were and when I could have a cheat meal. You can still have champagne, you can still have your cheeseburger. Oh my God, I love cheeseburgers. You can still have all those things and I could still lose weight. I used to have really high blood pressure to the point where my doctor was actually worried about me and he wanted to put me on blood pressure medication. At my last checkup, it was back to normal, completely. And when you're doing a fast day, you have this incredible amount of energy. I got like this buzz from fasting. It was, yeah, it was like a great cup of coffee or just this energy kick. I'm so much more productive at work. I get through so many more things. I can multitask like crazy and I just power through. When I'm writing, especially on a fast day, I just churn through. You have to try. There will be times when you faceplant into a pizza or, you know, you have a fast day planned and it doesn't work out. There will be times when you look at the scales and you haven't lost as much as you hoped. It's also the only weight loss program I've ever done that has allowed me to lose weight that quickly and that easily in that short a period of time. And keeping it off has been easy. It's not a chore. It's not even difficult anymore. It's just life.